Hi, and welcome to Kenya's Light Initiative. It's me, Kenya Craftsmester, and I am here today with Steve Baumgartner. Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Wow, that's an open-ended question. Uh, my name's Steve Baumgartner, of course. I am the father of 8 beautiful children that span from 5 to 32 years old. I have an amazing wife. Amazing wife. Can't say enough good about her. Uh, if I didn't have her in my life, I don't know where the heck I'd be. But yeah, ultimately, what I do is out in the workplace is I help businesses figure out how to win by aligning their groups of people, all on the same mission. And then on the home front, I help men become better men in their marriages and in their families and out in their communities.
That is very interesting. I often see so many what I would consider toxic role models for young men. So I am always very excited when I see someone who I think is a great role model and what I would still consider an alpha male who can show younger males that it doesn't have to be so man bro dude.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. We're in some really interesting times overall, right? You had the rise of feminism, of course, and then the toxic masculinity. I hate that term because I don't think that anything tied to masculinity or femininity is toxic. It's whether it's mature or not mature,
Yes.
right?
And that's a good way to put it.
So I think there's problems on both sides of that fence.
Mm-hmm.
There's my opinion is that we were all wonderfully made. We were all created for purpose, but those purposes are different. They're not the same. So society would tell us that you know women and men are equal. I believe that to be true, but being equal doesn't mean that we're all the best that we can be at certain things. We're all given different gifts. So can a woman go out there and be a CEO? Absolutely. Absolutely. But she also is a great mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or could be a great mother. She doesn't automatically inherit that. She's got to activate that gift. But men also can be great fathers and great husbands and all of that stuff. And I think when women step up so much, men have this natural inclination to step back. And then we, of course, had the 80s and 90s, right, where men don't cry. Men don't cry. So we get this viewpoint of the toxicity because men have that whole bro and I got to be tough all the time and things like that. One of my favorite words is and, right? We do have to be tough. That is one of our roles in society. But we can also be soft with our wives. We can be soft with our children. We can also have expectations and accountability and all of those things. So it's and. We need to be that entire package.
I love that. One of the things I learned in a training one time was when you tell somebody but, you erase everything that you just said before that. And is additive.
Right.
Now, a lot of times our previous family, our different experiences is what helps to mold where you're from and where you're headed. Are there some times in the past that have inspired you to be the kind of father and husband that you are now?
Absolutely, I do. I actually have 8 children, all in all. 5 of them are adults, and then 3 of them are young. 5, 7, and 9 currently.
Those are fun ages.
They are fun ages. They're also the ages where they're starting to come into their emotions fully and different things like that. So they can be challenging as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't the best father with my older children, with my adult children. Actually, I was that immature father, that immature man at that point in time in my life. I thought that my purpose in this world was simply to provide for my family. So there was a couple things that came from that. I did that really well. I went out and provided for my family really well. I, grew from, a floor worker all the way up into a corporate, high ranking individual in a company. I was pulling down multiple six figures, all of that I provided really well. At the same time, I also was drinking a lot. I was, the guy who would come home and leave me alone. I'm going to sit down and watch TV and eat Cheetos and Oreos. I grew to 320 pounds at one point in time. So I wasn't being a very good example for my kids, but I was also filled with all this. I have quite a bit of things in my past that I never dealt with. So all of this anger and rage and resentment and all that stuff, I would take out on my family because I couldn't do it at work. They got an HR department, right? Mm-hmm. So as I was working on myself and I started taking ownership of the things in my life, I realized how pathetic of a man that I really was, and all that. So I started to change those things little pieces at a time. I started with my relationship with God, and then it worked into my marriage, and then it started working into my family. And I think that hierarchy is important. That's why I stress it like that. If we're going to be the heads of the domestic church at home, we have to start with our marriage, but it's got to already be in unison with our Almighty. So I raised this set of kids a lot differently than my older kids. Mm-hmm. Being present. There's so much to be said for simply being present. We have these devices in our pockets all day long, and it's an easy scapegoat for people to use. But we use it all the time, right? I mean, we'll be sitting down with our children playing a board game, and we got our phone in front of our face rather than our child in front of our face. So simple things like that are really important. But yeah, that past with my 5 adult children really helped shape the direction of where I'm going now with my 3 that are at the house.
That really hits home. I have a 30-year-old, a 26-year-old, and then an 18-year-old. And I was a young mom, and I had a conversation with my older 2 kids. I said, look, I know it's different. I am more mature, and I understand that I don't need to fly off the handle if somebody wants the crust cut off their bread. It's just not that deep. Have you ever had that kind of a conversation with your older children?
Absolutely. I want to go to one specific conversation with my 32-year-old son. And I also want to mention that I was not only emotionally abusive, but to my son, I was also physically abusive, looking back at it now. But my 32-year-old, we hadn't had a relationship for multiple years. And we ended up moving down to Kansas City for one of my jobs. And this was after I started working on myself, and my fabulous wife started inviting my son, and he didn't come for a while, and then he started coming once in a while. He would come over for dinner, a family dinner night or what have you. And we would share some small talk and things like that, but we really didn't have a deep relationship. And he had joined the Marine Corps when he was 18 and, stayed for quite a few years and deployments. But he had mentioned to me that he was missing martial arts because I was talking to him about the jiu-jitsu that, I and the younger kids were doing. And he said that he missed that. And I said, well, come on down to the gym and, we'll hook you up with a free class. And I was coaching the little kids and pretty close with the professors at the gym. And he came down there and tried that one class, and I could just, you see that look in someone's eye that they really love something. So while he was getting changed out, I went and paid a year for him, so that he could just keep on coming back. And if he didn't use it, he didn't use it, right? But if he did use it, what could be then? So I just went ahead and paid it. And he accepted that gift, and he started coming. And, there was a couple conversations on the mat because the professors would purposely pair us up. So he would crush me because he is well trained. But anyways,
Make Dad try harder though.
yeah, there was one time he actually said to me, Kenya, he goes, I didn't realize how young you were when I was a baby. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you were only 17 when my mom was pregnant with me. Like, yeah, I was just a kid. He goes, I understand that now, and he's in his 30s now, right? So this would have been in his late 20s. Mm-hmm. And he realized how immature he was and correlated that to where I was. So that was like this first piece of release. And then he had another, I had apologized to him multiple times, probably, well, in retrospect, way too much, right? I'd apologize for the way that I treated him, for the things that I did, for the things that I said to him, for, the life that, the things that he didn't do because of what I said. And one day he just tells me, he goes, Dad, I already forgave you. Why do you keep on apologizing to me? And there was this point in that conversation, and I had tears flowing down my face from the joy that I received, because it was this joy that didn't just come from him, it also came from him, right? And it was just amazing, this washing that it had on me. And we became friends out on that mat. So every Saturday morning it became a tradition. I would take the younger kids. He would meet us there. We'd go over to QT afterwards and share an energy drink and a protein bar, Mm-hmm. And we just became the best of friends over that situation. And it's just been amazing since. So, great kid. He's doing a lot of great things. So.
That is amazing. What do you have in store as far as growing as a father and a husband in the future? Mm-hmm. Do you have thoughts and ideas? You seem like somebody who's always on mission.
Yeah, so I used the word presence earlier. I want my kids to be able to live their dreams, right? And that starts when you're young. It doesn't start when you're 18, living your dreams. So my 7-year-old son, this is crazy because at 7 years old, and he's been this way since he was 5, this kid's got washboard abs. He is genetically different than the rest of the world. So he's super great at, BMX. He loves BMX, so that season's just starting. But his real passion right now, it was really jiu-jitsu, but now it's turned into American Ninja Warrior. He wants to be on American Ninja Warrior. And I'm like, okay, well, to do that, we got to train. So we went out and we sought out a place for him to train. And
because they have a kids edition, don't they?
Yeah, they got a juniors, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what the age group is because it starts with the training, right? Let's get through that first. Mm-hmm. But I think it's 9 years old, so he's got a couple of years to train. So he started training about 6-8 months ago, and we're just all into that and things like that. And I used to think that doing that as a father was, man, you just giving your kid way too much, and what about your life and things like that. It was weird, the thoughts that I used to have, but it's about that presence, right? It's the presence in those moments that matter to them. In the business world, we understand that it's a lot more important to be interested in someone than interesting, right? It's the same way with our children. So that's really my focus now, is trying to be interested in them. Of course, as a father, I need to guide them, and I need to, help them grow in the right ways, mm-hmm. because kids can get interested in some stuff that they really don't need to be interested in. But they also need to have that trust, because we built that relationship over that presence throughout the years. So intentionality and presence is really where I'm focusing at right now.
That's amazing. Well, I have completely enjoyed having you here today. And is there any final words? Because at Kenya's Light Initiative, we try to shed light on mental illness and the things that cause it. Are there any final words that you would like to share to help shed light on somebody's day?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned that. I'm going to shed darkness first.
Sometimes you got to shed a little darkness to make the light shine brighter.
Yeah, so out of all of the suicides in the world, right? People say it's in the United States. It is 79% in the United States are men. Are men. I've studied 13 countries so far, and that percentage only ranges from 79 to 81%. There's a reason for that. There's an absolute reason for that. But there's also a reason for that to go down, right? And here's where the light comes in. It is amazing when I went from my belief of the only reason that my existence is here is to bring home a paycheck to now maximizing all the domains of my life, how much joy that has brought me. Mm. I've been on that suicide, going to say suicide watch list. I was never really on a watch list, but I should have been.
I have stared into the depth of despair and had to be pulled back from it.
So there's no reason to be there. It's all within a man's control right now. He's just got to activate those gifts. And I say just, it's not a just. But he has to activate those gifts that he's already been given. They're already there. He needs to step into them. And he'll find the joy with it.
I know that you do men's coaching and have some men's groups. If they think that your light is the one to help them out of the darkness, where can people find you?
The easiest thing to do is contact me on Instagram at Real Steve Baumgartner. And the reason why I send them there is because I want to have a personal conversation with them, a one-on-one conversation with this man. The formation that we do with men, it's not a lose 10 pounds in 20 days or whatever program someone's got out there. Those have their place for sure. But this is a formation program. It's not a quick get rich quick scheme or anything like that. It is a
all the
formation.
best ones are not.
Right. It is a formation program. So I want to make sure that the man's ready because it is deep work, right? It's not surface level. We are going to go deep. But we're also going to work on activating all those gifts that he's already been given. So at Real Steve Baumgartner on Instagram, I'd love to talk to him.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been great having you here. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.